What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gloriana, but you can call me G. And in this video, I'm giving y'all a story time on my labor and delivery. Now, there wasn't really much labor, mostly delivery, but you'll have to watch the full story to find out what I mean by that. Let's get started. So my labor and delivery story starts actually before the day I delivered my daughter. So I gave birth on a Tuesday, November 7th, and before that Tuesday, over the weekend, I was having this pain in my stomach. I started having this pain like right below my ribs on the right side, and it was just a constant pain that would not go away. I just found $1 in my pocket. Keep that there. But anyway, yeah, it was this constant pain that was not going away. Even if I took a Tylenol or something like that, I was able to sleep a little bit, but the pain was still there, even at like a level 1 or a level 2. So I soldiered through the pain for a day or two. I want to say the pain started on Saturday, so I worked through it Saturday. Sunday I was still feeling the pain a little bit, but it was a little bit better, so I was like, okay, if I'm still hurting on Monday, I'm gonna call my doctor and let them know something's up. So Sunday comes and goes, Monday comes and goes, and I'm feeling fine on Monday. Also, Monday was my off day, so I didn't have work or anything. I was at home all day. I felt fine. I felt rested. I was able to get some sleep finally. I did have a little bit of a headache that day. Once the stomach pain went away, it's like the headache replaced it. So that's how I felt Monday. Now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good on Monday, so I guess I don't need to call my doctor. It was just, a little transient pain. But then Tuesday rolls around. I wake up Tuesday morning, I go to the bathroom, I take a picture of my belly, not even knowing that I'm about to give birth that day. So I'm glad I got that last final belly bump picture. But I take a picture of my belly. I'm not really feeling too good. I have a slight pain in my stomach, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go to work, because I wake up super early for work, like 2:30 in the morning. I'm up. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to work and I'm just gonna see how I feel. If it starts hurting me really bad, or if it starts hurting any worse than it is now, I'm gonna go ahead and call my doctor once the doctor's office opens. So I'm at work. I get there at 4 a.m. The doctor's office doesn't open until like 7 or 8, I believe. So I'm there at work. I'm not in too much pain, but it's just like an uneasy feeling. Like, you should never be in constant not ending pain, you know what I mean? Like, the pain isn't fluctuating, it isn't throbbing or ebbing and flowing. It's just like a constant pinching pain in my side. Now, over the weekend I did do a little bit of doctor Googling, and I didn't think I had anything to worry about because I didn't have a headache or anything like that. I didn't have a blood pressure cuff or anything at home to be checking my blood pressure with, but my blood pressure had been fine my entire pregnancy. My glucose tolerance test was good to go. I did not have gestational diabetes. I did not have preeclampsia, at least so I thought, going into this day. And also, I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for the very next day on that Wednesday, so I wasn't really too concerned. I was like, if anything, I could just tell my doctor what's been going on Wednesday when I go to my appointment. Little did I know I was not going to make it to that Wednesday at my doctor's appointment. My doctor's office is open. I called them. My doctor says, all right, you need to go to labor and delivery. So I'm like, okay, why am I going to labor and delivery? I'm not in labor. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be having labor pains up by my ribs, but so I go to labor and delivery. I tell my supervisor, okay, I've got to leave for work. My doctor wants me to go to the labor and delivery unit. So I clock out of work, I go get in my car, I pull up the directions to the hospital, and I notice that my arrival time when I pulled up the directions to the hospital was 9:11, and that kind of gave me a sense of comfort because it made me feel like, all right, I'm definitely making the right decision by going to the hospital right now. 911 is like that emergency alert. That's what those numbers mean when I see that something urgent is coming up. So when I seen 911 on the GPS arrival time, I was like, okay, I need to go to the hospital at that point. So I pull up to the hospital, I park, I get out, I make my way to the labor and delivery unit. They get me all checked in, they get me back to a monitoring room, and I'm laying there on my way to the hospital. Or actually, before I even left work, I was texting my mom and I was telling her, hey, I think I'm gonna go to the hospital, or I'm not feeling good, my stomach is still hurting. And I told her I wanted her to meet me up there because she's off on Tuesdays. So she actually had my nephew with her that day, so her and my nephew came up to the hospital to see me. So I'm laying in the monitoring room. When they get there, they had just taken my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was like 158 or something like that, something crazy I never seen before, over like 90, or like 158 over 96 or something like that, some crazy wild number. I was like, whoa. And the nurse, she didn't even tell me what my blood pressure was. She didn't say anything about it. She was just like, oh, your blood pressure is a little high, so I'm gonna take it again in a few minutes. I gave them a urine sample. I noticed that my urine sample was a little bit dark also when I gave her the sample, so that was kind of a concern for me as well. But so after she gets my blood pressure a second time and it's still high, she lets me know, okay, we're gonna have to draw some blood and do some lab work on you. Your blood pressure is a little high, so we're gonna be keeping you here to monitor you. I'm like, okay, you know what? At this point, I'm all strapped up to the fetal monitors and everything. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm still in a little bit of pain. I think they gave me something for the pain, so I was able to calm down a little bit. My mom was there, and my fiance was also in the know that I'm at the hospital, and if, anything changes, you need to be on the way. They send my lab work to the lab, blood work comes back, and they let me know that, okay, it's looking like we're definitely gonna have to keep you here for an extended amount of time. Your liver enzymes are elevated, your blood pressure is high, and also your platelet count is low. And then the nurse proceeds to tell me that I have been diagnosed with something called HELLP syndrome. And HELLP syndrome stands for hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelet count. So I had all the above. Like, it was just crazy to me how I went from not having any signs of concern, no diabetes, no preeclampsia, until one day it was just out of nowhere, your blood pressure is sky high, and she proceeds to tell me we're gonna have to deliver the baby today. And I'm like, I instantly start crying because I'm like, no, it's too soon. I'm only 32 weeks pregnant at this point. I still got 8 weeks to go, 2 more months. I'm not prepared. I had started getting myself prepared for my labor and delivery. I had started getting a few things that I needed, started getting a couple postpartum things and things that I would need in my hospital bag for delivery, but I was nowhere near complete with my preparation. Originally, she had said that maybe they would have to keep me for a week, try to keep the baby in as long as possible, and then deliver the baby. But after they found out that my platelet count was low and all of that, they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to go ahead and deliver today, which means that I also would have to have an emergency C-section because I was not in labor. The nurse did say that I was having contractions, but I couldn't feel the contractions. They were very light contractions. I don't know if they had given me anything to trigger the contractions, but she did say I was having some light contractions. But I would not be able to actually labor as far as my birth was concerned. I would have to have a C-section. So, you know, they're pretty much just keeping me comfortable at this point in the monitoring room. Eventually somebody comes in to wheel me to an actual labor and delivery room, and I'm set up there for hours at a time waiting on platelets because I had to have a platelet transfusion before they could cut me open. So the doctor or the nurse practitioner comes in and tells me that I'm gonna have to have a C-section. And of course I was down about it. I did not want to have a C-section. Nobody really plans to have a C-section unless you've already had a C-section before. So I was not happy. I was not looking forward to it. I did not want this big scar on my abdomen for the rest of my life, and I didn't want this big scar, and I actually wanted to experience labor. You know, that's something that is natural for women to go through, and I wanted to know what it was like, to be honest. Before I actually got pregnant, I thought I would want to have an unmedicated labor and birth, so no epidural. And I really even thought I would wanted to maybe go to a birthing center or have like a home birth, but I'm still in an apartment, so the home birth idea kind of went out the window at that point. But yeah, I wanted a more natural experience, I feel like. And when I found out that I was going to have a C-section, it definitely felt like something was taken away from me. Even throughout the process and during the C-section, the way that they just cut me open, took her out, and then suddenly I wasn't pregnant anymore. It was so weird. It was the weirdest feeling ever. It did not feel like real life at all. It was just like I was pregnant and now I'm not. I mean, to some people that may sound like a dream come true. You didn't have to go through labor or anything. They just numbed you up and took the baby out. But that's not the experience that I wanted. They did tell me that, you know, with preeclampsia, it doesn't always happen in every pregnancy, or just because it happens in one pregnancy doesn't mean it's going to happen in future pregnancies. So I can possibly have a vaginal delivery later in life with my next pregnancy, as long as everything goes well. Yeah, having to have a C-section definitely caught me off guard. Like I said, I immediately started crying when they told me I had to deliver that day, because I knew that that meant I would have to have a C-section. She said, I think I was like 1/2 centimeter dilated actually. And she said it would just take too long to try to induce labor, so C-section it was. I know in my case it was an emergency. They were looking after my health as well as the health of my baby, and they had to get the baby out of me so my body could, you know, reestablish itself and normalize again. So once they got me back to the labor and delivery room, I was there for hours. At this point, like, I had family coming from out of town. They had made it in town after a 3-hour drive. They were like, you know, what's up, where the baby at? But I'm like, no, we're still waiting. I had to get a platelet transfusion, and it took a while for the platelets to be ready. They transfused me with 2 units of platelets. No blood transfusion, just the platelets. And after that, I was ready for the surgery. So me and my fiance, they wheeled us back. They set me on the table, put the needle in my spine, numbed me up. Of course, I was nervous about that. I was trying not to move whatsoever, but it wasn't too bad, honestly. I never saw the needle. He never showed it to me or anything. Also, the sensation of the epidural going in. So that's another thing. I was able to get an epidural and be awake during my C-section, and that is because they were able to get my platelets at a healthy level with the platelet transfusion. If they were not able to get my platelets at a healthy level with the transfusion, then they would have had to put me to sleep in order to do the C-section, and I wouldn't have been able to been aware of any of it. I was able to stay awake during the whole process. It probably took like 10 minutes, if that, 15 minutes maybe, for them to do the C-section, and that's not including the time it took for the epidural to work its magic. It's a weird sensation. It's like you can actually feel it traveling down, into your legs, and my legs slowly started to go numb. They felt kind of warm and tingly. But anyway, so they go through with the C-section. They get my baby out. She comes out. She's crying, which is music to my ears. They did give me a steroid shot before going into the C-section so that her lungs would have a little bit of time to mature, since she was premature at this point, only 32 weeks. When she came out, she was crying, she was breathing room air, which was all great signs to me. As soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, she's okay. As long as she can breathe, you know, she's good. She weighed 3 pounds 11 ounces at birth, my little tiny baby. And she did have to spend some time in the NICU. She spent about 2 weeks in the NICU. I was able to bring her home the day after Thanksgiving, and she was born November 7th, so like 2 weeks and a few days in the NICU. They would not let me go see my baby until the epidural wore off. So I delivered around 7 o'clock, and it wasn't until about 11 that night where I was able to go see her. You know, everybody else could go see her, but they wouldn't let me go down there until the epidural wore off and I could kind of walk a little bit or stand up at least. But they still rolled me down to her room in the bed, I believe. It's kind of a blur, of course, because I was just under, you know, I wasn't put to sleep, but the whole process was just like a whirlwind of emotions and just like this odd, surreal feeling of I just had a baby today after not like, I can't even put the words together. After not even expecting to give birth anytime soon, I was in a real like limbo kind of space. But seeing her there, I was so in love instantly. I was just grateful and happy that she was okay, just a healthy, happy baby in my eyes. And that is the story of the day that I gave birth. My entire delivery, no labor, but that is what the process was like for me. I wanted to make this video just to give women a heads up of if you experience something similar to what I did about the pain underneath my ribs, definitely call your doctor, go to the hospital if you experience anything like that, because it could be serious. Don't be so quick to write things off. I am definitely glad that I went to the hospital when I did. Who knows what could have happened if I had waited another day or another hour even. So I'm definitely grateful for that. If you watching this and you recently gave birth, let me know how your labor and delivery went. Did you have to have a C-section? Were you able to give a natural birth? And, you know, just tell me all about it in the comments. And as always, stay blessed.